Welcome to another Figuring Out Japan video. We sell all the coolest Japanese collectibles and figurines straight out of Japan, and you can find out more details about us in the description of this video, including our Facebook page and our online store. So in this video we're going to be having a look at the Banpresto World Figure Colosseum Android 17. This is from BWFC Series 2. If you continue it from the S Cultures series, then this is Series 9. So this particular one came out in April 2019. The box does actually say 2018, but that's because that's when the the prototypes was shown to the market and people could actually vote, which of course is the whole point of the S Cultures / BWFC series. And I did actually want to point that out because in the Super Saiyan Trunks figure, this one, that I did last year, I pointed out that it said 2011 on the base, and I couldn't figure out why exactly that was, because the sort of Roman numeral 1 looked very similar to a 7, so I was like, is it the style of font, is it a typo, what is it? But I noticed actually with the Android 17 one, or the BWFC from this series, it actually says since 2011, so Banpresto are obviously including the S Cultures line in that. And one thing actually to note with that is the One Piece actually started in 2012, but the Dragon Ball S Cultures series started in 2011. So yeah, let's have a quick look at the box. So they've gone for a kind of fairly simple and modern look, I think, for this series. The Japanese flag here is because of the Sculptor is Japanese. Of course, the difference between BWFC and S Cultures is that the sculptors are not all Japanese for this line. And as is common these days, there are two versions. There's the simple color version and the, well, not simple, the color version and the monotone version. The monotone version is really for people who want to do sculpts and other things. So this particular figure is actually made by the sculptor Varrock, and Varrock has actually done some awesome figures over the years, which I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar. And I believe he also did actually do the sculpt for this particular figure as well, the Trunks release from last year, which personally is one of my favorite figures in my collection. So let's have a look at the Android 17, because this is what we're looking at here in this video. So the height of it is 170 millimeters, which I think is about 5.5 inches in the imperial scale, and the figure actually comes in one piece, which to me is quite interesting, because usually they come in different bits and pieces that you've got to assemble, but it does actually come as one piece. The stand and the supports are obviously different pieces, so you can see there are two supports, probably easier the other way. So there's this main one, and then there's the one that goes into the back of the foot, so that goes into his right butt cheek, and then the left one goes into the sole of his foot, and then obviously you have the base itself. The style of the base is the same as what has been done for all of the figures over the years. I will actually point out that this at least for me, that this larger support was actually very hard to get in. I could get about 3/4 of the way in, and then I just couldn't get it that last bit in, which isn't a problem because it will stand fine, no problem. But I will just point out that if you buy this figure, which of course I highly recommend you do, and of course we hope that you buy it from Figuring Out Japan. But shameless plug, I know. But in saying that, yeah, if you do get this, it is a bit hard to get in. So I don't recommend trying to force it all the way in, because you might, you know, snap the base or something. I don't know. Maybe it was just for this one that I put together. I'm not sure. But yeah, so 4 pieces in total, but the figure itself only comes as one complete one, which is nice. And the detailing is really quite nice. I love the sculpt, and it's a bit hard to show unless I put it in the light, but you can see there's a lot of detail that goes into the I mean, you can see even like the socks have these kind of grills in them, and of course the shoelace, the soles of the feet also have, we can't see it that well, but it does have lines going across for the sole of the feet. You can see it a bit better in that one. You can just see there, it's a bit hard to show in the camera, but just all the detail there, sort of on the pants here, you can see all those little sort of lines that give it texture, the pockets, the seams. It's all pretty detailed. It's all pretty good. And then this part here, the sort of holster, is actually, it's a kind of different material. It's a bit more rubbery. And I think it's attached at a couple of points. And there's a gun. And again, you can see up here all the sort of marks and textures in the t-shirt, and then even the hands. I know it's very hard to get into focus, but you can sort of see like the bones kind of coming through, and the fingernails. So it's all very detailed. The Red Ribbon Army symbol, of course, the earrings, and the wavy hair. I love that facial expression. I think Varrock, the sculptor, really captured that very, very well. And it was also nice to see as well that even with the foot, there's kind of, it's very hard to show, but there is actually some kind of gradient toning here, some slight variation in the paint color, which I think is kind of nice to see. Yeah, it's very hard to show, but you can just see here, like along this part here on the front, it's a bit lighter than the other parts. So it sort of gives you that kind of denim look. It's definitely deliberate because it's on both feet. You can see it again there, just along here, and then here it's sort of darker. So I'm pretty impressed by that, because that's something that I think is something that they've improved in more recent years. They did it with the Super Saiyan Trunks as well. There's just a look at the back of the hair. Very detailed, very hard to, you know, manufacture something like that sort of goes out into so many different pieces. But overall, I'm really happy with this figure. I've said quite a few times on the channel that I really feel like Android 17 is the figure they need to do most, because I feel that, you know, he's a relatively major character in the series, and also they have actually done, of course, they've done heaps of Android 18 figures over the years. This particular one's from Sculptor Series 3, but they've done Glitter and Glamours, they've done Sculptures, I think Series 6 it was, there was 2. They've of course done Android 16 and Android 20 from Sculptures 1, which is some of my favorite figures that I've also reviewed on the channel. And of course they've done Cell. They've done plenty of Cells. They did Cell from Sculptures 5, the second stage one. They did BWFC Series 1 had a Cell. Sculptures Series 1 had a Cell. So had plenty of ones. So that's kind of the downside when they do many. So like even this series of BWFC, there's 9 figures. 3 of them are Goku. One's Goku Black. So almost 4 Gokus. It takes away from doing all these kind of second tier characters that I would personally like to see more of in the future, like Android 17, Dabura, Dodoria, Zarbon, Captain Ginyu, the Kais, those kind of characters. So anyway, it's great that we've got Android 17. In terms of complaints or, you know, things that I didn't particularly like, I always try and point something out, but you know, honestly, I think this figure is pretty close to perfect. I mean, I love the sculpt. Again, you know, Varrock is very good at doing that with the trunks that I showed before. I've reviewed that figure too. I really like how they did Android 17 from Dragon Ball Z. None of this like Dragon Ball Super Android 17 or GT Android 17. Just good old proper classic Android 17. If I had to really try and get nitpicky, and this really is nitpicky, but I think some of the sculpt here to sort of show, obviously, like some action, that action pose, I feel it's a little bit too deep. just seems to, some of these lines, these three here, almost looks like he's been attacked by a tiger or something. He's just a little bit deep. And also the chest is just a little bit blocky, just around here. You know, maybe that could have been a little bit more rounded, but I mean, like I said, that's extremely nitpicky. Because the shirt's black, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't come out as much anyway. Like you can see there in the shadow, you can only just make out the line. So it's definitely not really complain. I'm just, you know, just trying to point something out, I suppose. The other thing is the gun. You can't actually take the gun out unless you cut this, which I don't know why you would, because you'd permanently damage the figure. But I'm glad they did. I think they actually did it with Bulma's Sculptor Series 4. You could take the gun out and put it on the hand, but I don't feel the gun is that important for Android 17 to be holding, because they would have had to do a different hand sculpt, and then so many people would lose this. I know with the Master Roshi from Sculptor Series 3, for example, with the glasses, and there's so many people who have like lost the glasses. So overall, I think this is, you know, as close as perfect as you could possibly hope for. It's a great figure, and will definitely go well with some of the other figures that have been released over the years. So yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. Leave a comment, and yeah, check out the description for where you can buy this figure from us. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more great content about Japanese figures and collectibles. See you in the next video.